Hello everyone, welcome back to Vintage Speedworks. My name is Marco. Today we're working on my 1975 Honda CB550 barn find. Now, like I mentioned last time, I purchased this bike for close to $200. That's it. You can still find these bikes out there. However, it's in rough shape and I'll show you how it looks, but it really needs a lot of work to bring it back to how it once was, or to restore it, I might say. So this is not one of those builds. I think this bike is a perfect candidate for something like a custom build, where we're not going to really be careful in the way that, you know, we're trying to bring this back to the original state. We can be a little bit more creative in the way that we restore this motorcycle. So I think that that's what we're going to do here. Now, I did work on the carburetors already on the last video that we shot. So I want to use those carburetors to put on this motorcycle and see if we can get it running. So join me on the process and let's get working on this. Now, the first thing I think we're going to do is we're going to remove the tank and the seat. Now, the previous owner had already been working on this bike before, so he had removed some components. One of those components was the seat hinges here. So as you can see, the seat just comes right off. Now, the seat pan is in actually good shape. We might reuse this, but if we're going to do a custom build, we might not really need to reuse this. So we'll keep that in mind. However, we're going to remove the seat. All right, so we got that out of the way. And now, as you can see here, we have the remnants, we have the remains of a airbox here. But as you can see, it's been chewed up by who knows what. And it's in rough shape, so we're going to have to replace this. Now, again, if we wanted to restore this bike, we would have to replace stuff like this. In this case, if we want to turn it into a custom build or something that, you know, might be more custom, you know, to us and how we want to build it, then that's the perfect candidate, because we won't need to replace this. So that's what you got to think of sometimes. You know, are you going to build this to restore and to have around for longer? Maybe if you want to restore it and get it back to original, or is this a bike that you want to customize and make it your own and have some fun with it? Because in my opinion, if you go that route, then you don't really have to worry about some of the expensive parts. Like, I'll give you an example. This bike has very, very bad exhaust. So if you look at the exhaust on this bike, it is really bad. It is rusted. It's going to need replacement. And to replace this whole exhaust, especially the back portion of these mufflers, you're going to spend roughly around anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 to get an original, or maybe not original, but a reproduction muffler for this motorcycle. So do you want to spend that, or do you want to go with something that's aftermarket, where maybe you won't have to, you know, kind of replace those? So it's really up to you. My situation here, what I think we can do is, I think we can go with a 4-to-1 exhaust, which might be a lot cheaper, and it might actually give us a good sound. So, you know, you always have to kind of gauge to see where you want to go with the builds. Now, another thing I want to do is I want to remove this tank. Now, this tank is in actually really good condition. There's not a lot of rust in it. This is a tank that you can restore. Now, I am planning on using this tank. Of course, it has a lot of dents, and well, not a lot of dents, but it has a lot of scratches on it. So I would need to get this kind of sanded and painted. We might see if we can kind of save some of the badges on it. And I do like the paint scheme to it. So I don't know, I'm thinking of building something like a classic, but very polished type of motorcycle, something that you know, might look kind of cool, might look kind of like I don't want to say chrome to have chrome, but something that has a lot of polished parts. So I don't know, I'm still debating. Most of the bikes that I build are all kind of like black and, you know, kind of more you know, that. This time, I don't know, I want to build something maybe a little bit classier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my carburetors and I'm going to bring them in and install them here. I did remove them last time with the manifolds that come with the carburetors or that attach to the boot of the carburetors. So I'm gonna have to put those back. So let's go ahead and work on that. All right, so we're going to put the carbs back in. Now, I took these carbs out with the manifolds, so I just went ahead and put the washers and the nuts back in where they went, so that way I can know that they're there and I don't misplace them. But I'm gonna go ahead and take these off. Now this bike, it's interesting because the owner had the keys for this bike. The bike itself is pretty complete. The wiring does not look like it's been messed with or anything like that, which is great because that means that, you know, nobody really tried to kind of tinker with it or modify it or anything like that. And honestly, this bike is said to have only 6,000 miles on it, which I hope is true. I mean, I'm okay if the outside looks rough, but I do worry about the internals of the bike, whether or not they're going to be good when it comes time to, you know, building the bike. But in this case, 6,000 miles is really not a lot of miles. Usually in my area of Texas where I live, it gets pretty hot, I'll be honest with you. And people don't usually, I mean, they ride their bikes, and I'm not gonna say they don't, because they do. Everybody rides, you know, bikes around here. However, they don't ride them every day because the area where I live, I mean, you can't really, I mean, you can ride places, but everything is kind of spread apart. Everything is really far away from, you know, it's really hard to kind of go somewhere without having to drive like 20 or 30 minutes. You need to go to the store, you're gonna have to drive, you know, 20 to 30 minutes. And, you know, some people just opt to have a vehicle that they use to daily drive, which is fine. I mean, you kind of have to do it that way. Notice how I took out the manifolds here. You have some little gaskets that go in between the cylinder head and the manifold. I'm not gonna replace those today because I just wanna see if I can get the bike started. So there we go. Now, installing the carbs on a bike that doesn't have the airbox like here, it's actually very simple and easy to do. It's when you have the original airbox and the carb boots, that's when you kind of struggle a little bit more because you have to really heat up the intake box because that's what really kind of keeps things from going in. I mean, you really have a little bit of space here for the carb boot and then the box to go in here. So, you know, you struggle a little bit more. In my case, those things weren't on the bike. Fortunately though, the carbs were on choke for some reason. So that kept stuff from going into the engine. But, you know, for me, that's a good thing. But yeah, like I mentioned, not a lot of people go ride around every day in bikes here. So 6,000 miles, I mean, I would think that, yeah, I would think that this bike did actually sit around. Now, the person that I bought this from, he actually bought it from somebody else, which was the first owner. Unfortunately, he didn't have a title for it, but I think I can probably get the title for it. Here in Texas, you kind of have to go through the whole bonded title process, which is fine. It just takes a little bit more doing. But he did mention to me that he was the first owner. So this is, you know, this might be a 2-owner bike. I don't think the guy that sold it to me ever like rode it. He was going to turn it into a cafe racer, which was a popular thing going around, or that was happening like around 2006 to 2010, around there. People were kind of modifying these or trying to find these. I think the guys from Dime City Cycles really encourage people to get them kind of going in that direction. Cafe racers are cool. I mean, I love cafe racers. They obviously I still kind of like them because I'm working on an old Honda CB. But yeah, they're really cool. I mean, you can make them look really nice. But you know, there's a lot more styles that have come out now, and people are kind of going towards that, especially with more technology that's coming out to build things. You have 3D printers now, and you have you know, different tools that you can use to build some really cool stuff that is available to the average person in a garage. So that's really cool, I think. I don't personally have a plasma cutter, but man, I had one at work. So having a plasma cutter back in the day would have been awesome. Something just as simple as a plasma cutter, I mean, can really make productivity when working on these old bikes a lot faster than using the grinders that we're used to. But who cares? Sometimes you don't have the money to buy those, and that's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna just tighten these up just a bit. These are 10 millimeters. I'm sure there's a sequence in which you tighten these down. Sure, there's, you know, torque specs and all that, but we're not gonna worry about that today. We're only going to tighten them up a little bit, just to see if we can get this bike running. Now, prior to me trying to get this bike going, when I first got the bike, I tested it for compression, and the cylinders were pretty good. So I know that the bike has compression. If you turn it, hopefully y'all can hear that. Oh no, it has the carbs, I forgot about that. But yeah, so it turns, and it turns pretty good, and it has good compression. So we're gonna hope that we can get it running here soon. Like I said, today we're not trying to get it running and leave it like that forever. We're just trying to see if we can kind of turn it on, have it on for a few minutes, see if our carb rebuild went good, and that's it. All right, so let me bring you to this side so I can show you what I'm gonna do with these long fuel lines that I have here. Okay, so when I rebuilt the carbs, I used these 3/16 line fuel line, which some people might say that it's a bigger type of size, I guess, than 3/16. I like the 3/16 line. I think it fits on there better. I like the way it fits on the tank. And yeah, it's thinner, it's more malleable, and I like it. This is a Gates brand fuel line, and I like to use this one. It's inexpensive, and yeah, it gets the job done. I really like it. So, but as you can see, I left it kind of long because I need to figure out how it goes into the fuel tank. Now let me show you. Oh shoot, this one doesn't have one. So on the fuel tank, it has two connections. So basically for these two lines. And that's why I leave them kind of long, because I want to test them out to make sure that I can fit them pretty well. Now, another thing to consider is you have to run a fuel filter to these lines. That way you can ensure that nothing goes into the carbs, like, you know, you normally have to anyways. So in this case, I'm not sure if the original Hondas ran a fuel filter. I don't think they did, but like an inline fuel filter, but I like to use the small inline fuel filters. So I usually run them in this area right here, and then from there I'll run them into the tank. But having the length of the fuel line kind of allows you to put them however you want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave them this size for now, because I am going to cut that and do that in the future. But I am gonna install a T on this one, because what I wanna do is I want to run a T so that I can install my fuel cell or my fuel bladder, whatever you wanna call that, auxiliary tank. And I want to hook it onto here so that I can connect the fuel to it. So without having to run the tank. So I'm not gonna run the tank on this time. This T is meant for a 1/4 inch hose. As you can see here, it kind of goes under, kind of tough. If you're able to, I mean, get yourself some Honda fuel line so you don't have to struggle like this, but you know, where's the fun in that, right? Now again, I feel that there's obviously a different size for the tank, so it goes on a lot better on the tank than it does on this fitting. Okay, so I got my fuel line routed to a T here, and then that's routed up to my auxiliary gas tank here. Now, if y'all haven't seen the video for this, how I made this auxiliary fuel tank, check it out on YouTube. It's on my channel. You can see it there. It's very simple how I did that. Now, I'm able to put it here on the handlebars because the level of the fuel is going to be higher than the carbs themselves. So that's going to allow for the fuel to still travel up to the level of the carbs, because the level of the fuel is going to be up here. So that's going to be fine. You can put it on your ceiling if you want to, but in this case, it's not necessary. So yeah, so let me add some fuel here to my auxiliary fuel tank, and I'll let you know what the next step is. Also, I should point out, I didn't add the drain hoses here just yet. Those I need to run down. I'm not trying to really restore the bike at this point or anything like that, but I'm gonna leave them like this so I can kind of more visually be able to see if they leak from here, so I know what carb is leaking or which one has the float bowl stuck, if it does. And also, I'm not going to put the filter box here, so I'm gonna have to figure something out. Now, for this test, I don't think we need to have it in there. It might run a little bit lean by doing this, but I'm not too sure. So now it should turn on. It should turn on and it should be fine. But long term, we would, want to put some sort of filter in here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just visually inspect the electricals here. Everything looks fine. The fuses are not blown or anything like that. But I just want to visually inspect, make sure that the wiring is not maybe eaten by rats or anything like that. Just kind of visually inspect, make sure everything is looking fairly decent. And that might, keep us from any fires or anything like that. So let me look around and I'll show you how that goes. All right, so as you can see, I have the battery here. I have the battery connected just to this little bracket here, which was for the clutch cable. The clutch cable is not on the bike, so we don't have to really worry about that right now. I am connecting the positive over to the solenoid. The positive is just kind of dangling. It's kind of stretched out because I'm using the battery from my boat. It doesn't have a battery right now. Let's see here. So we have the carbs connected. We have fuel going to our auxiliary, or from our auxiliary fuel tank. We have fuel going in. I haven't opened it yet because we still need to check the electricals. Oh, I just realized, I don't know if y'all can see that, but we have a neutral light. Oh shoot, that was on actually. Oh, and we have an oil light too. I thought that was off. Apparently the key. Okay, so yeah, so that's on. So when I put it, I think the switch is, yeah, no, it's working. But see, the oil light is not coming on, but then if you wiggle it, see, it does come on. So, interesting. Okay, I'm just gonna check, especially here in the electricals. I'm gonna just check to make sure that we don't have any smoke coming out of there real quick. Don't believe we do. I don't see any smoke coming out of anywhere. So let me see here. Okay, so we still got our oil light on. Hopefully y'all can see that. So the oil light is on. We have the neutral switch, which is good, the neutral light. So what do we want to do here? So I think we're going to, before we kind of hit the starter button, do we have horn? Oh, nice. Cool. Nice, so we have horn there. Wow, that was really strong. What the heck? I don't think I've ever heard a horn that loud before. Nice. Okay, so what about, interesting. So this bike, I have another CB550. It has the low and the high here, but then on this side, it has an on and off switch. This one doesn't have the on and off switch. So I think this one was just, I think it just ran, and that's pretty stuck. Yeah, that's completely stuck. So turn signals. We're not getting anything. That's okay. And then we have our run. And let me turn that off. Let me see if we can get something from the starter here. Nope. Okay, so no starter. That's okay. So this switch here has two wires, and those two wires actually run all the way to this starter solenoid that you see. Hopefully y'all can see that. So the starter solenoid is this one right here. So those two wires are the ones that come to, you can kind of barely see them. Hopefully y'all can see those, but there are two wires here. Yeah, so those two wires are the ones that come from the switch, which make this turn on, or make the starter kind of go round. So I'm gonna check into that first. I'm gonna see what's going on with the solenoid, because it could be that we just have, I could jump these just for the sake of trying to get this going, but let me check the switch, because as you can see, hopefully y'all can see, the switch is kind of broken apart here. So I think they try to remove this and check on it. So I'm gonna remove this and see if maybe there's something going on in there. That way we don't have to kind of mess with jump starting the starter. If it comes to it, then we'll, jump start it and use the switch to turn it on. So let me check on that. All right, so I'm gonna try to remove this one. It's already kind of loose. I disconnected the battery. Oh, wow. Yeah, these screws are pretty much gone. I'm gonna use my JIS screwdrivers. In the previous video, I called them GIS screwdrivers. So, I don't know why I did that, but they're JIS screwdrivers. Oh, man, they're on there stuck. So that's not coming loose. Huh. So I'm going to have to remove this with some pliers. Let's see if I can remove that bolt. Okay. Holy, that is on there. Wow, that bolt is on there. Jesus. And there you have it. It broke right off. Which is fine because we weren't going to be able to remove the bolt, which I think it's still stuck on there, but let's see if we can get it off. There we go. Holy moly, that was on there. Whoa. Hopefully you can see that, but we bent that bolt and it didn't want to come out of there. It was super corroded. Yeah. But we get it off. Okay. So now, let's see what we have in here. Okay, so I already see some broken parts in here. That little pin broke off, the one that kind of holds it in place. I see that the push button here it's not returning. So let me see what I can do. Yeah, so let me undo these bolts in here, and that way I can have a little bit more room to work. So it has these little clamps in here, and that kind of holds the wires in place. Once you undo those, you should have a little bit more room. And then there's one bolt in here holding the starter button in place. So we're gonna remove that. There we go. Now there's a little ball bearing in here. You wanna be careful not to lose that. There's a spring as well. If you're working on the bike, you want to keep everything original, you're going to save all that stuff. I mean, it's just for you to consider if you need to save that. Kind of just dump everything here. All right, so hopefully y'all can see this, but I have a voltmeter here, and I went ahead and set it to this little diode setting here, which is basically for continuity. So basically what that allows you to do is if you maybe touch something that's to ground and you touch something that's ground over here, it'll tell you that there's continuity in that circuit. So we can check these. There's 3 wires here. We can kind of probe them, and we can see, since there's 2, we have our starter solenoid on the back of the bike. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check to see if there's any continuity from here going to the solenoid, to see if maybe there's a break in the wire from the switch all the way to the solenoid. Now, if there isn't, then I'm gonna assume that it was just the switch that was broken, which it was broken. And I could use this to start the bike. But since it's in this condition, I might just jump start it from over here. So I don't know, maybe we can figure out a way to use it. So let me just, let me bring y'all closer so y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay, so like I mentioned, there's 2 wires that are running out of here. They're coming out of the solenoid, and then there's the 2 big wires that go from the battery basically to the starter motor. So this is the solenoid. The two terminals in the middle, those are the small wires that go up to the handlebars to give the signal to this solenoid to start. There's three wires in the handlebars. There's a red and a yellow. There is a black, and then there is I believe it's a red with black. So if you really look closely on the handlebars, you'll see that there are three terminals. One in the middle is actually a positive. So, and the way that you can tell that is by grabbing this positive cable here, grabbing that end, attaching it to your probe, and then probing on the one in the middle. And as you can hear, we have continuity there. So we know that that wire is connected to this positive. So once you connect this positive lead to the battery, you're gonna have a positive there. So that was the middle wire, and we know that the red and the yellow wire here goes to the other side of the switch. So that means that we have to connect the red one, the yellow and red with the black one in the middle, so that we can get continuity, which on the positive side, to our solenoid. Then we have to check that we have a negative going from the solenoid to ground. Now, again, that could be, if we probe it here, we can touch it to ground and we're not gonna get anything. But that could mean that there is something else on the bike that needs to be on in order for that ground to be activated. So it might be something else. So we need to check the wiring to find out what that is. But if we were to put current, and then on the negative side, we were to put it to ground, then we should be able to trigger this solenoid so that we can get the positive going from here to here. So let me go ahead and try that out and wire the switch, and yeah, let's see if we can get this bike started. So here's how that switch looks. As you can see, there's a red and a yellow wire, and then there's a middle terminal, and then there is another one here. Now, when you press on that terminal, or when you press on the button actually presses in, and it sends current from the middle one, that little middle tab that you see there, it sends current to both of those. So the red and the black that you see here actually arcs. Well, it actually sends, the middle one sends current to both when you press the start button. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just try to see if I can arc both here and see if we can get the bike to turn over. So let's try that. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna once again connect my battery to the bike, and I'm gonna see if I can get it to run a little bit. Now, I could wire that switch so we can just use the switch, or I might actually do that by just using this. Yeah, let me do that, but just using the screwdriver. But I do want to let some, let's see if I have current. Yep, I have current. I don't know why though, my oil switch turns on sometimes, but not all the time. So there might be some faulty wiring, but hopefully nothing too major. Now, I did check compression on this. I didn't check for spark before, but knowing old Hondas and knowing that this one has about 6,000 miles, we should be getting spark. So if I'm gonna fill the tank, I'm gonna fill the carburetors with gas now. So I'm gonna open the valve. I'm gonna see if I have any drips here. Hopefully we don't, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So that should let gas flow into our float bowls. Okay. I'm not seeing. Oh, there we go. We have two that are kind of leaking. Oh, all of them are leaking. Shoot. Okay. We closed off the gas, but they're still leaking. Okay. We're just gonna give them a bit. Just gonna tap them. There we go. That one stopped. Probably grab a rag. Sometimes when the carbs have, like in this time that I kind of rebuilt the carbs, sometimes when you first put in new floats, you'll get the floats to like kind of stuck because there's no gas in there to kind of lubricate anything. So all you have to do is just give them a couple of taps, you know, kind of just to kind of get the needle to seat. I'm just gonna open it a little bit and see what other carbs are leaking. And if any of them are leaking, I'm just gonna tap them just a little bit. And this is normal. Again, sometimes when you have the float bowls kind of sitting for a while, or the floats kind of, you know, stuck in one spot for a while, then you'll get them to kind of stick. But once you get a little bit of gas, like you see now, we actually don't have any leaks. Once you get gas in there, then they'll stop. But they just need lubrication, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I'm gonna clean some of this gas up because we don't want to have any gas on the floor or anywhere, really, when we're trying to start a bike, because then if we get a little spark here and there, then that could catch fire. We don't want that. Okay. Nice. Okay. So I'm gonna give that a couple of minutes to dry, and then we're gonna go over to trying to get this bike to start. All right, so we kind of let the gas dry up a little bit, and I think now we're ready to go. So what I'm gonna try to do is, we don't have a throttle, so there's no way that I can kind of work on the throttle, and I don't really want to do that. All I want to do is I want to see if I can get the bike to kind of turn over and to give a couple of you know, puffs of smoke and see if maybe it'll run. I don't want to fully, if it starts and runs for a little bit, then that's fine, that'd be perfect. But I don't want to leave it running for a long time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn on the ignition here. Okay, so we have that. The oil light is on, the neutral light is on, our carbs are not leaking. And I'm gonna put this into choke for now and see if we can get that running. Let's see if we're not forgetting anything. Hopefully that doesn't spark. I'm gonna use a screwdriver to kind of get the starter going. And actually, let me see if I can get, yeah, so I'm gonna turn the ignition off, and I'm going to put it in the off position, put this switch in the off position. Yeah, so that way we don't have any spark going to the cylinders, and we don't have any ignition going over here. Okay. That sounds really good, actually. Okay, so yeah, so the key has to actually be on in order for the bike to turn over. So I wanted it to turn over and choke a little bit just to kind of let some gas in there. But I think that we're ready to go. So I'm gonna see if I can get this bike running. So here we go. I don't know. I think we got everything. Our gas, I'm gonna turn it off because our bowls is all we need, I think, for right now, just to kind of get this running. Okay, so yeah, let's see if we can get it running. It sounds really strong. I honestly, I love Hondas, and they're super resilient, and I mean, they just work. So let's see if we can get this running. So I'm gonna turn the switch to the on run position, I mean, from the off to the run position, and then, yeah. So let's see if we can get it started. Okay, so we got choke. Okay. All right. We didn't get any, let's see. We're not forgetting anything, right? No. Okay, so here we go. Let's try it again. Okay. So we're not getting anything. Okay. I don't hear it going off or anything. Let me open the carbs and just see if maybe it needs a little bit of air to go in there. Okay. I smell gas, so I know gas is going in there. So what I need to do is I need to check to see if we have spark. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a screwdriver really quick, and let me see how I can do this, because I need to hold the screwdriver. Oh, yeah. So let me see if I can do this while doing that. Nope. I need more hands here. Let me see if I can just hold this just right. Okay, and I don't see any spark, so that means that we have an issue with spark. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna find out what is going on there. So what I wanna do is I wanna make sure that I have power going to the coil. So let me grab my tester here. And let's see if we have any power there. Okay, so I'm gonna attach this to ground. I'm gonna use the same, try to use the same terminal here. And okay, so we know we have current. As you can see, the test light is turning red. This is a cool test light that I made. Actually, if you leave it on there for a while, I think it turns color. Yeah, it turns green. I don't know, I think that's cool. Anyways, okay, so there's two wires going to the coils here. So they have connections. So I'm going to, see, we have power going to that. Hopefully you all can see that, but we have power going to that coil, so I know that that coil should be receiving power. Now, the other side of the coil is what we also need to check, so let me connect that back. before I do that, I think I want to check, let me check the points and see if maybe, okay, so we have our points in here. Now I went ahead and disconnected the battery. I'm going to go ahead and remove the cover here for our points, and I'm going to see what's going on in here. It could be that the points are just dirty, which is usually the case. Or it could be that we're not getting currents there and there's an issue with electrical. Now, oh boy, that's not good. I just noticed something. Let me show you all. I kind of missed that on the initial check of our bike, but you can see that there's a chunk missing out of that coil. That can't be good. It's not a lot, but it does have a hole going into the coil, so hopefully that doesn't affect our ignition. There's one here. I think that might have been a rodent of some sort, but okay. Now, one of the coolest things about working on these old Hondas here is finding stuff like this. Now, this is a manual that I found in the bike, and this particular one was written on. As you can see, somebody wrote on this one, so I'm sure somebody found that one. And I mean, this one says 76, but this is a 76. Let me check. Yeah, so this is actually a 76 model motorcycle, even though on the fork it says 75, but it was a December model, so it's already 76. So they include the 76 manual, which is pretty cool. I think I've been calling it a 75, which I should have checked, to be honest. But as you can see, somebody wrote on it. I'm not sure if they just maybe found it in here and needed something to write on, but I don't know. It says first Stanley A, second ASB 7A, 15A, third Stanley. I'm not sure. That sounds like, I think that sounds like fuses or something. But one of the coolest things about these manuals, and I have others, I have three or four, but I love finding these old owner's manuals. And the reason for that is because a lot of these have never been found, because they come in this little plastic cover and they're under the seat, and a lot of people don't know that they're actually under the seat. So it's really cool. Sometimes you find some that haven't even been touched. As you can tell, this one has, and it's a little bit worn out. But one of the coolest things that I find about these old manuals is this right here. That is awesome. So I'm going to make a video about the wiring diagram on these, because I have one that's super mint, but it kind of tells you everything in regards to the wiring and how you're supposed to kind of go about repairing it. Well, you can use it to repair it, I guess you can say, but man, the manual just looks perfect and it looks super cool. So in another video that I'm going to make soon, I'm going to scan this into a higher resolution, make it look super cool. And then I think I'm going to place it up here on my bench in a larger format. So yeah, stay tuned for that video. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the stop switch right here. So as you can see, you might not be able to see because this is kind of far away, but it says starter engine stop switch. So it has off, and it has run, and then it has off. So here it has two black wires, a black with white. I'm sorry, there's two portions of that. One is for the push button and the other for the starter, and then the other one is for the off and run. So in the run position, we have to have connection between the black and the black and white. So that means that they have to be together. In the off position, they're not connected to anything. So in theory, if we were to have or connect our our voltmeter and connect the continuity between both, and we put it to the off position, we shouldn't be getting any connection there. But if we have it in the run connection, then they should be connected. So instead of kind of messing with that switch, I'm gonna go ahead and follow it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bridge that connection right here. So wherever they connect, which this one goes to a connector there. And then this one goes to another connector somewhere over here. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to either bridge them there to make sure that we have a connection. But I mean, if it's in the run position, we should be getting continuity there. So I'm gonna go ahead and double check, make sure that there is current running to both sides. And this one should be, we can kind of run through the whole diagram and figure out if this is, if it's a ground or if it's a positive that runs through there. So let me see here. That one goes there. Here. Okay, so then the black and the white goes directly over to the ignition coil. So the ignition coil has the black and the white. So we should be getting we should be getting current to those, which I checked one of the coils and we are getting current. So that is actually current that runs through our switch. So it is a current switch. So it's not negative. On the other side of the coils, we have yellow that comes over here, and it goes to the condenser and the breaker. And then that one goes to the other side. And then this one is connected there too. So let me see. Okay, so that one for sure goes there. Yeah, and it should be going. So we need to check that because there should be ground going from the contacts. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect my. So I'll connect my test light to this one, and I'll see if the contacts are actually breaking, but they should be breaking to ground. So yeah, we should be in good shape. So let me go ahead and try it again and see what we get. And this is awesome. I love these old manuals. All right, so we're gonna give it another try. If you're using one of these auxiliary fuel cells, I will recommend that if you use them, just use a seal in here that is graded for gas. I know I didn't mention it in the previous video, but just make sure that you don't use the same gasket that the valve comes with. It does work, but after a while of using it, it'll kind of bulge up and it'll deteriorate. So you want to use something that'll withstand gasoline. All right, so we're gonna give it another try. Here we go. Choke is on. We got the gas on. I'm gonna turn that on. Make sure we don't have any leaks from the carbs here. No leaks. Gas is on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so maybe if I give it a little bit of throttle. Okay. I definitely feel like. All right, let's try that again. Yeah, I think our solenoid here is not good. Yep. So I think we might need to replace that. But for now, I'm just gonna arc the contacts. Okay. Let's see if we can. I don't have the throttle on, so it's kind of hard to do this because I don't have the throttle because this is broken, as you can see, so I need to replace that. And I didn't attach the throttle to the carbs because I'm not trying to really get this bike, you know, completely finished. I just wanted to turn it on, see if it turns over. Apparently it does, so that's good. But yeah, it sounds good once it's running, but I want it to run for a little bit longer. Let me see if I can get that. Okay. Okay, so the solenoid is not working that great, as you can see. It doesn't have enough juice to be able to connect those two together. So, I mean, we're just gonna have to kind of arc these two together so we can send power to the starter motor. But I want to see, because I have a feeling that it's only running on 2 cylinders. So I'm not too sure if that's the case. I need to hear it running for a little bit longer, but I do have a feeling that that's the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can just keep trying it and see if it'll run, but I do feel like there is an issue there. So let me see. Okay. Nice. That didn't sound so happy. Oh, yep. All right, so I just touched the exhaust, and 2 and 3 are hot, but 1 and 4 are cold. So that tells me that the coil, which is going to the 1 and 4, which is the blue side, which is this side over here, which is the blue side, which is, yep, it's this coil that is not running properly. So, So what I think is happening is the points are working properly, but the coil itself is not good. And so that I think is partly in part because the coil, as I mentioned earlier, has a hole in it. So yeah, that might be the case. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can find the coil from another bike that I have, and I'm gonna swap that out. I'll put it in here and give it another go. Because yeah, there's a big old hole on the side of that one. And these cylinders that just so happen to not be working are 1 and 4, which are going to this coil right here. So I could test the resistance to find out if that's actually the case, but I do have another coil, so I'm just gonna go ahead and swap that out. All right, so I'm getting ready to install this new set of coils, but I did remember they're not in the best shape. These are actually used coils from another Honda CB550. They're not the best. I'm not going to permanently install them in there because I don't want to leave these on the bike. It's not something that, you know, we're going to use for long term, but I do want to put these on there because I know they were working. The only issue with them was that I think since they had used them or they had cut the ends of these boots to kind of re-screw the boots on there for the spark plugs, after a while they got a little bit too short. But that's okay for us because I'm just going to kind of lay these on top of the wiring. I'm gonna have to probably ground this. Let me see what I can do. So let's see if maybe we can make them work here. All right guys, so I wasn't able to get the bike running, but there is an issue with the coil, so I need to kind of troubleshoot and find out what's going on. Now, I had tested the coils on the bike, but I decided to test them outside, and I just wanted to show you how I do that. So I have my voltmeter here. There's a setting for kilo ohms, but then there's, as you can see, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see, but there's a setting that doesn't have the K on it, which is just regular ohms. So you know, obviously as the resistance gets higher, you're going to have to change that. So right now I have it set at 200, and I'm going to try to test the primary coils here. So if I test that, that gives me 4.9 on my voltmeter, which is actually in spec, so that is correct. If I test the other side of this coil, then I will be changing this to about 20K, because we're looking for a resistance of about 15K. Now, I kind of modified this this coil to kind of work for me, but right now I'm getting resistance of, you can see I kind of lengthened the cable, so we're probably going to get a lot more resistance here, which I think I am. I'm not getting any reading there. Yeah, so I'm not getting any resistance there, so there might be an issue with this coil. So I'm going to put that one off to the side. Now I'm going to check the coils on the bike. I'm going to go back to 200, so let me bring you closer. So before I get the bike started, I want to show you some of the wiring that is going on here. Now I disconnected the yellow here, and I disconnected the blue, which is this one and this one. So these are the ones going to, I hope you can see that, but these are the ones that are going to our ignition points, and then this one and the blue one over here are the ones going to the coils, and as you can see, they're right here. One is going to one side and this one's going to this side here. And then notice how there's two black and white that are going to the positive side of the coil. All right, so I'm gonna try to set up the voltmeter here so y'all can see. Hopefully, there we go. And I have my two coils here installed, and I'm going to look for the leads, not the ones coming from the motorcycle here. These are part of the harness here. But I'm looking for the ones that are connected to the coil. Like here we have our yellow and our black. So I'm gonna go between those two. I'm going to hit them, and as you can see, oh, hopefully, well, there we go. As you can see there, I'm getting resistance, or I'm getting 4.9 ohms. So that's within spec. Now let's test out the other one. We're getting, hopefully you can see that, we're getting 4.95. So that tells me that the primary side of the coils on both sides are working properly. Now, I have the one, for example, this one is the one that runs cylinders number 2 and 3. And then this one is the one that runs cylinders 1 and 4. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my voltmeter to 20K here. And I'm gonna put my leads in this one, which is the number 1 cylinder. And then I'm gonna put the other one in the number 4 cylinder. On this one, I removed the boot already because I knew that there was something fishy going on there. And that's why I'm making this, because I wanna show you what's kind of happening here. So I'm trying to get a reading between the secondary one, and we should be getting about 15K ohms, 15,000 ohms. So as you can see, we're not even getting anything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this boot. So the ohms could be a lot higher, but I removed the boot, and now I'm gonna test it without the boot. And I'm gonna see if I can get any type of resistance here. Am I doing the right one? Oh, I'm sorry, I was doing the wrong one here. So I'm gonna test this one and this one. This one is number 1, this one's number 4. So as you can see, we're at 15.09. So that tells us that we have a good coil there. So that one is not the problem. So this coil, even though I thought it wasn't firing, that's not the problem. So now we're gonna test the other one. So we're going to get our other coil. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, we're going to attach our voltmeter on that end, and then I'll attach the voltmeter on this end. And as you can see, hopefully you can see on camera, we're getting 19.94 ohms, which is a little high, but I do have the boot on this side. So let me remove the boot. Okay, so if I remove the boot, we're at 15. So that's where we should be when it comes to the coils. You know, this one is between 2 and 3, and the other one was between 1 and 4. So that tells us that the coils are actually good. Okay, so I'm gonna check to see if there's any issues with the points here. So I went ahead and removed my cap. Now, one of the things that I see here that could be happening, just right off the bat, I noticed that this condenser wire, these are on the same side as the points wire. Now there shouldn't be any issue as long as there's these isolators here in place. That should be okay. But basically the way this system works is you have a blue wire that's coming from the 1 and 4 coil, and then you have a yellow wire that's coming from the 2 and 3 coil. So what happens here at the points is that the wire, as you can see here, we have the blue wire going here. Now this wire, believe it or not, this wire, the blue wire, is isolated from this tab right here. So it's not touching, that's why it has these isolator kind of washers in between here. Now that keeps the continuity from going from here to this point. Instead, it sends it over to this side, and it doesn't connect to this one. So it just sends it over to this side, and then it goes through this whole mechanism here, if you notice here closely, inside of here, there is like a plastic washer that isolates as well this from hitting the ground here. So if you were to run a voltmeter, for example, and put it in the continuity, if you touch these two leads, you know, you have continuity. If I were to touch that little washer and then touch the ground here, as you can see, it doesn't do anything. So that washer is an isolator for this one. So what happens is the connection here goes over to this side and it just kind of waits until this arm closes and it arcs and makes a connection to ground, which this one is connected to here and it's connected to the whole bike as ground. It basically just completes the circuit that goes over to the coil. So yeah, so I would change these over. Technically, they're okay being like this, as long as it's not touching the isolator, or it's not grounding off of the isolator, in other words, so it's not touching the metal in between. That should be okay. So I don't think that's our problem. So what I want to do is I want to turn the bike over. There's a little slot in here, and that's where you can see what position you have the bike in. So right now I'm getting close to the 1/4 position, which is right here, this one right here. This side is the 1/4, this side is the 2/3. So I'm getting to the 1/4, and there is some little marks there that tell you, I'll show you here a close up, but there's some little marks there that show you where the firing, the top, that center position are. So what I do is I hold the kick lever with my left hand and just turn it with my right hand with this adjustable wrench. And so I'll get it to the firing position right there. Maybe a little bit, you don't want to back this out, but maybe a little bit before the firing position. And then what I want to do is I want to connect my battery, make sure that that's good. I'm going to put the ignition in the run position, and I'm going to turn my key to on. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my test light. I'm going to put it in the 1/4 slot here, make sure that that doesn't ground to anything. And I'm going to put my test light here to ground. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the bike over until my test light turns on. Okay, so I was wondering why it wasn't working, but I remember that my test light is not a reverse polarity. So it works off of an LED, so I kind of modified this one, but you have to have it where there's ground and then positive on this side. So usually with a regular test light, you can swap it off, do it like this, but with my test light, I have to do it like this. So what I do is I just put the lead here and I twist my timing until my light turns on there. Okay, so we can see that that is pretty much dead on to where it's supposed to be. So I know that the plate isn't moved completely, so I don't think that that's the problem, because I don't think this bike has been touched too much. So the firing mark is fine there. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna turn off the ignition so that the coils don't overheat, and then I'm going to move. I'm gonna kick the bike, or not kick it, but just move the kicker. And there's this small little tab right after the 1/4 mark that will come up in this little window here, and that'll line up with the top where the timing mark is. So I want to leave it there with the ignition turned off and everything. You don't want to have any power going to any of this. Now at this position, I can go ahead and adjust my points here. Now the points should be at 0.12 to 0.15, around there. So I'm going to check them. At this point, this is where we can adjust the points. Now it's kind of tight on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this up. Once I loosen that up, I should be able to adjust the points. Yeah, that's a little too tight. So I'm gonna adjust it with my JIS screwdriver. In a previous video, I called them GIS, which is kind of funny. So I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew that just a bit, and I'm gonna use my flathead screwdriver to kind of move that a little bit. I'm gonna put my 12 in here. 12 Okay, just a little bit of drag there, and then I'm going to go ahead and tighten it back up. Okay. All right. It's about there. So now we have some play there. 12. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the same, but I'm gonna rotate the engine all the way around to the 2.4 mark, and then I'm gonna go to, so basically I'm gonna turn it to when I see the 2.4 mark, which is coming, that's 1.4. Okay, so we have the 2.3 mark there. I'm gonna just rotate it until I see the little tab again, comes right after the 2.3 right there. Okay, so at this point I'll adjust the other side, and that one seems to be perfect. All right, so I know the adjustment here then should be fine. Now the one we were having issues with was this one, so maybe that's what was causing us to not get any spark at that coil. But now that we know the ignition, it should be okay. I'm gonna leave the cap off, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to give it another, to see if it runs, and we'll go from there. If that is not the issue, I'm thinking the coils there could be an issue with the wiring in the coil. So if this doesn't solve the problem, then we'll go ahead and solve it, or try to solve it by addressing our coils. All right, so I'm gonna connect my battery here. The ignition is in the off position. I'm gonna go ahead and check on my gas. You can see if that is on. We have our spark plugs in place. We're gonna put our bike in choke. All right, and yeah. So I think let's give it another try. See if it turns on. Got the bike in the run position. Still got fuel. Okay, here we go. Just in case I need to work the throttle, I'll put this here. Nice, awesome. Okay, cool, nice, cool, awesome. Nice, so now we're getting, nice, now we're getting all 4 cylinders actually working. Oh, nice, okay, cool, cool, cool. So now I know that the bike is actually running. Let's try it again and see if we can get it running again. That's awesome. I thought it was going to be our ignition coils or our wires that weren't in good shape, but like we said, I mean, we tested them, they were ohming correctly, so maybe that wasn't, you know, the issue. So I'm gonna give it another try here and see how that goes. kind of holding the throttle. It's in choke, but I'm holding the throttle open a little bit. I think it needs more air, or less air. Well, more air. Nice. Cool. Awesome. Cool. All right. So there you have it. Dang, it smells like carbon monoxide in here. So let me open the garage a little bit. But there you go. I mean, it's working. It actually runs. Man, I love old Hondas. I just freaking love them. They're super reliable. But honestly, this bike does sound like it has 6,000 miles. I mean, it runs awesome. So yeah, I'm super happy. I think we can make this into a really cool bike. I don't know what kind of bike we need to turn this into. I think we can turn this into a really cool drag bike, something that we can experiment with. I don't think it's a candidate for restoration. I'm about to faint in here. It's pretty bad. But yeah, I think we can turn this into a really cool drag bike or maybe a custom build, but let me know what you all think. I think that's it for today. We're gonna call that a day. If you have any ideas of what you think I should do with this bike, please let me know in the comments below. I think we can turn this into a really cool drag bike, something very custom, something really nice. But let me know, hit that like button, and please subscribe to my channel so I can keep making content like this. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.